Good morning, people. Welcome to Fireside Chat number 3 in the series of 4 with Rose-marie Fernandez. She does the cultural orientation framework, like that's her specialty. She is an expert at that, and she's been doing it for companies with her students and everybody. So let's probe into as to what all further we discussed things earlier, but let's see other questions I had for her. So let's see. And hi, Rosemary.
Hi.
We're together again to chat about the cultural orientation framework, your favorite assessment tool. So tell us what is unique about this tool.
Okay, if I had to start off with what's unique, first let me, say talk about the cultural orientation framework. I was introduced to it via this book by Philippe Rosinski, Coaching Across Cultures. New tools for leveraging national, corporate, and professional differences. I read this book first in 2015. And now, 9 years later, I am, because of technology, I'm able to share some of my learnings on this video. You asked me what's unique about the COF, the Cultural Orientation Framework Assessment Tool. Well, way back in the 80s, when I first got laid off from my position as a director of human resources, I was involved in, and I certified in another assessment tool that was so much fun, and it was called True Colors. Showing your true colors, who you are as a person. And I liked it because of its practical application, where people could show their true colors in a workshop, what kind of a person they were. And it was based on the MBTI, the Myers-Briggs Temperament Indicator. And so people were, they would end up with an acronym: extrovert, intuitive, feeling, perceptive. That's who I am, an ENFP. And I I really enjoyed sharing that tool all over the world. In many countries, I did true color workshops. Since then, I did some other assessment tools also, but the COF really, really intrigued me because of the categories, the 7 categories it has, and the 17 dimensions. Now, why you ask me what's so unique about it is I feel that all of us human beings, when we're in a team, when we're working together, be it in an organization, large groups of people, whether we are C-suite, whether we are management, whether we are operations, we're all a team that works to one common purpose, which is the success of the organization. And to me, it relates to the harmony of creating music. When we create a tune, somebody is playing the guitar, somebody is playing the saxophone, somebody is playing the bass, somebody is playing the violin, somebody is playing the clarinet, somebody is playing the drums, somebody is playing the percussions. Each one of those instruments are unique and individual on its own. It creates its own sound that is so pleasing to the ears. And then you have a music composer that puts all those sounds together and we get a tune that's in harmony. When we listen to it, we go, whether we listen to a tune for meditation, or we listen to a tune just for relaxation, or we listen to a tune for dancing or for exercise, it's still the harmony that all these instruments put together that makes us want more and more of that particular piece of music. So to me, what's unique about the assessment is that these 17 dimensions, when we understand them as it applies to each one of us, let's, one dimension could be from the category sense of power and responsibility. In that dimension, we have control, harmony, humility. Control is at one end, humility is at the other end. But when we understand each other, just like an instrument, a saxophone is metal, it's a wind instrument, right? The piano is played with the fingers, it's a key instrument. It's unique. A pianist could play, but usually doesn't play a saxophone. And a guitarist could play another instrument, but they prefer, their preference is that instrument. But when we all play it together, we're all diverse, we're all unique. Wow, it's harmony. And then we have the team leader, that's the lead orchestra player, and that we all can perform together in harmony when we understand the implicit dimensions that each one of us possess. So the COF assessment tool designed by Philippe in this book helps us realize what are those unique qualities, how can we understand each other, and how can we create harmony in the working lives of our teams, of individuals, of organizations, and communities.
Brilliant. I think like it's so very well put together, and you're like it's so clearer to me and everybody else as to what cultural orientation framework is and how each person plays his or her role in and contributes to the progress of the company or the community or whatever. Brilliant. Thank you so much for explaining it so beautifully. Now, our next question would be, how can we implement it in an organization? Because that, I think, is kind of little difficult, um, because you need to change your mindset and everything, and then follow what's been told, so that you get the perfect scenario around. So I would now be interested to know that how can we implement this COF in an organization? Thank you.
Like anything else, no pain, no gain. You have to invest some time and energy in wanting to learn something new, in wanting to do something new, right? But the ROI, the return on your investment, is tremendous and sustainable. Implementing is a journey. Implementation is always a journey. But the first step is to do the COF assessment. And you get your results so you can see your own unique preferences, your style, your dimension that you have acquired through your years from the time you were born. Okay, so they say, psychologists have told us that we are programmed by the age of 5, we are programmed 85%, as high as 85%. Just think about that. Programmed by the age of 5. Who programs you? Obviously, first it's your parents, your home, your environment where you grew up, okay? Your neighborhood. Then you get introduced to school. By the time you're 18, you can tack on another 5%. Your teachers, your neighborhood, your cousins, your families, your extended families, the economy of your family, the social status of your family, all of that starts to play into you. And then by the time you're 21, you're in college, etc., you can tack on another 5. So by the time you come of age, you're programmed 95%. But it's not all doom and gloom, because the other 5% that we have, we can change that 95% programming. When I learned that, it's been one of my mantras. I say it every time I get a chance to speak, because when I learned that, I thought, wow, You mean I can rewrite my trajectory? You mean I can rewrite my narrative? Yes, you can. It's all up here. It's your mindset and your desire. You will it, it can happen. Okay? So, how do we implement COF? It's not just a matter of, okay, I do a little assessment test, okay, I get the results. What the COF does is not only does it give you the results, but then a certified practitioner like me, we debrief you. We discuss your unique qualities. So as I mentioned, the first one was the category of sense of power and responsibility. At one end of the pendulum, you have control, and at the other end, you have humility. Okay, maybe we were raised for whatever reason, different circumstances in life. Our preferences, we want to be in the control seat. We want to be dominant. You know, certain cultures, especially people who come from cultures of colonization, we are accustomed to succumbing to control. And then the followers are exercising humility because that's the way we were raised. That's the way we were programmed. That's the way we were conditioned. But once we realize this is what's happening, guess what? We are so strong with that other 5%, we can make changes. We don't have to entirely change from a control preference to a humility preference, but we can try to come towards the center where there's harmony. We can exercise control when needed as a leader. We can exercise humility as a leader. We can exercise a balance where, okay, it's all going well. Let's orchestrate this. The team's doing well in this dimension. So when you ask me about implementation, then we do the assessment. A coach does a debrief. But the best part about the CF assessment is not just the individual assessment. You get to do a whole team does the assessment, and then you get group results. And then you can see the dominant preferences of each team. And where is it that we need to recognize the diversity that comes in our team, the implicit differences that we don't see. We sometimes just attribute a difference to what we see with our eyes, the explicit, the color of the skin, the way we speak, our English language, the name, the religion attached to the name. No, this takes a deep dive inside and helps you to understand maybe some of that 85% programming that we have from the past and work on the 5% that we can change. And our minds are so strong that we can do it.
So now I would request ask another question from Rose-marie, which is, in your experience, can you share an example of where it has benefited a client or an organization? Thank you.
Where the COF assessment has benefited a client or an organization. Well, I have, for me as a coach, I use it quite extensively, whether a person has done the assessment tool or not, has participated, because now I want the COF assessment to be part of my DNA, just like True Colors became part of my DNA. When I discovered in the True Colors that I was an orange, which in the MBTI scheme says I'm an extrovert, I was so elated because I was trying not to be an extrovert. In my cultural background, a female extrovert is kind of a no-no in my generation in those days. Introverted females were more acknowledged, were more rewarded. And so I was trying to conform to being an introvert. And guess what? I used to be sick all the time. When I discovered I was an orange and I was an extrovert, that was my innate preference. I let myself go. I gave myself permission to do what was in my comfort zone. I traveled all over the world. I did things with other people that were extrovert. I realized I get my energy from other people. So what the cultural orientation framework now does, it augments, it told me much more about who I am. Okay, so when you ask me about organizations and individuals, for example, I was coaching a young man and he came to me for coaching. He wanted to move on with his ambition. He wanted to work on his time management skills, and he just didn't know how he was going to do all of this. The explicit view of this young man, when I first met him, he had a British name and he was an Afro-American. Later, as we started coaching and we got talking and he shared more about himself, he told me that he was brought up and raised in the Caribbean. And so his orientation to time was that it's plentiful. It's out there. I can get my job done. I don't need a calendar. I don't need to schedule. I know something has to be done by Friday, so it's going to be done. There's no scarcity of time. If I do a good job, I'm certainly going to get promoted. And that's the way he was. Well, through coaching, I helped him understand that he could use both. He didn't have to go either or, like plentiful time or scarcity time. Okay. But if he scheduled, if he scheduled himself, if he set some rules, if he created some milestones, if he created a timetable for himself, he would bring harmony into his life and those that work with him. Therefore, he would start to be a little more relaxed, have some peace of mind, and he could start looking at his cultural orientation through a different lens. And as he progressed along, he started to see the benefits of that. And so he made a shift in his mindset to use that time orientation to his advantage. His employer benefited because now he was more organized. His team was producing so much better, more work, they were more productive. They knew what they had to do. There was some structure to their work life.
Great. Thank you so very much. I thought that was very descriptive and tells us everything about it. My last question in this chat would be, how may the COF be used in coaching?
Oh, what a lovely question that is. What a lovely question that is. The cultural orientation framework has already been tried and tested. Philippe Rosinski has certified many coaches as practitioners in this assessment tool, so it's been validated. But me as a coach, how could a coach use it? It gives them insights into the preferences when they ask those empowering questions. When they ask empowering questions, and depending on the response from their coachee, they are able then to look at the categories and the dimensions in the COF, even if the individual has not done the assessment. For example, you just shared your preference. You're protective, you're not sharing. And in the workplace, we want to be sharing. We want to be collaborative. So if somebody had to tell me what you just told me, if I asked a question, can you give me an example or something, and you had to tell me that you like to keep everything to yourself, there's something in your preference. Maybe you are an only child. Maybe you are an only son. Maybe, you were the youngest of the lot. Maybe all those preferences come from the past, right? That I want to keep it all. But in the workplace, you can't keep it all. Collaboration is like the #1 skill that individuals need to have. So When you hear, when you listen, you can ask more empowering questions to foster and encourage those elements that your client needs to work on. So for a coach, it's the listening skills and then being able to ask the questions that pertain to each one of these dimensions.
Thank you, Rosemary. It was such a wonderful uh, chat we had. So many things, that got clarified in my mind. And I will be very honest with you, the assessment that I did was very close because I know myself. Everybody knows themselves in and out, and it shocks them what the results are. So thank you very much, and we shall meet again. And I have few other questions. I guess we'll keep that for the next chat that we have. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant, and thank you so very much for enlightening all of us.
Thank you, Kamran.